Hi everybody, welcome back to Sewing with Knits. This is the second video of knit sewing, and you can see on this knit that I'm making, this t-shirt, I used my overlock serger to finish the edges, but now we still have to hem this, right? So it's really important to have a nice clean finish, isn't it? And what we're going to be using is a twin needle. And this particular twin needle I'm using is a 4.0, and you can see it says twin stretch. Really important to use a stretch needle when you're sewing with knits. Now I mentioned before there are all kinds of knits. You've got a double knit, you've got ponte knit, you've got lycra, spandex. A lot of them are generic names that mean elastine for elastic, like the spandex and the lycra and all those things. But anyway, it's really important that when you have when you fold over to hem, that you still have stretch in the seam. Otherwise it's going to pop on you. You know, I learned that lesson a long time ago. I remember my grandparents came down to visit me, and Grandpa needed some new t-shirts, and they were really long for him. So I said, oh, I was just learning how to sew. So I cut them, and I had a serger, I overlocked it, folded over. Didn't know much about sewing back then, and I did a straight stitch, and when he went to put it on and stretched it, pop. So watch my previous video on how to get a seam without the pop. Now let me show you my thread setup up here. Alright, so if you follow your instruction manual, it's going to tell you how to set up your machine for 2 spools of thread. Here you can see I have 2 spools of thread. I have one in my vertical position and one in the horizontal position. This is standard construction thread. You don't want anything too thick for a lightweight knit. So these are feeding as one. After they meet here, you're going to feed them through, and you feed it all the way just as one. Okay? Now, after you bring your threads down, sometimes on some machines, let me lower my foot here. On some machines, you will have a bar right above your needle, and you would put one thread, you feed one thread on one side of the bar and the other thread on the other side of the bar. Now looking at this, you can see I had these crossed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this carefully and see, do I have a cross, or is it just the way I put it through there? And what's really important, let me raise that needle, what's really important is that you want to keep these feeding as one. There we go. Let's get this out of here. The hardest part it's going to be is threading these, right? Alright, so now one thread goes on one side, one thread goes the other. On some machines you leave one thread out. You have to read your instructions on how it tells you. On my machine, in the instruction guide, as you see in this photo I'm going to bring up, it shows you that you thread on one side and the other. Now I see here that these might be twisted. So what I'm going to do is, not bore you, I'm going to take these out and rethread these needles, because you cannot use a needle threader, and I don't want to waste time while I'm trying to thread this for you all. So I'm just going to take these out, and while I'm rethreading, through the magic of video editing, I'm going to take you over to my ironing board, and I'm going to show you how to press your hem up before you sew. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is fold up our hem on our sleeves and the bottom of our t-shirt. So turn it wrong side out. Okay? I like to hem with about 1 inch on the arms and about 1.5 inches or 1 inch on the bottom hem. It's a personal preference, whatever you like. So what I did was, I have a pressing ham here, and this is something I made a long time ago. You take a newspaper or a magazine, you roll up the magazine and you tape it, and then you take some batting and wrap around it, and you make a sleeve. And here I just took some wire or here I actually did some cording, and I just tied it off at the end. That's it. That's all you do. What this is good for is when you put something in the round on it. It allows you to, especially when you're ironing, It allows you to just press this and nothing underneath. Now I have a measuring gauge here, and I've got 1 inch. That's what I'm going to do, is 1 inch. Now this is serged on the edge here, and this is because I don't have a cover stitch to do everything in one step. So this has been serged. Now I'm going to press this up, hit it with a steam iron. Okay, and if it doesn't want, if you have this fabric takes a press really well, but then put a piece of wood over it, 2x4 or what they call a clapper. What that does is it'll absorb the moisture from the fabric to help set that crease. Now when you touch it, it's not as hot and it will save that crease. Okay, so now I'm just going to roll this around and make sure I'm still at a 1 inch seam allowance, which I am. And I'm going to press this again. Give it steam. And use what they call a clapper in the tailor's industry. That will absorb the moisture, set the seam. And you see? And then your seam is pressed really nice on the edge. This is great for wovens too, especially for wovens, or if you have a poly cotton blend that sometimes doesn't want to stay, creased for you very well. This really works well. So here we go. Here's that 1 inch again seam allowance. Going to press, use steam, and then the clapper. And because this seam roll has some cushion to it, I can push down to get a better surface contact. And there it is. And now we're going to take this over to the sewing machine. We're going to turn this right side out and top stitch with our double needle to get our hem. All right, we're back at the sewing machine. I think I will walk you through this because at least one thread I'll walk you through. All right, so I got one side threaded. Now let me show you, I'm going to take this needle out of the pack and show you what it is. This is a double needle. This is what a double needle looks like. It has one post. The post goes where your needle normally goes when you insert it, and you have two needles down here. Hence why they call it a double needle. The only way you can sew this when you're doing hemming, make sure you sew it in the center needle position. Make sure you're using a center needle position. And if your sewing machine has a double needle icon to engage, so it's a safety, make sure you engage that. What that does is it'll prevent you from doing a zigzag stitch that's too wide. And what happens when it's too wide, your needles will hit your throat plate and break. All right, so let's see how smart I am here. I got this side, the left side threaded. Now I'm going to see if I can thread the right side. This is the hardest part, and I've got a camera in front of me this time, so this is a little bit more difficult for me to see. Yeah, the camera's right in front of me. And like I said, you cannot use your needle threader. Let's see if I use a pair of tweezers, if this will help me. As you can see, this is the hardest part, everybody. Is trying to thread it without the needle threader. Oh, almost. Trying to see where that hole is. Got it. Got it. Did you see what I did there? I put my finger behind the needle so I could see the opening. Another thing that you can do is you can get a little piece of paper. Get a little piece of paper or some white fabric and just put it behind that needle so you can see where your hole is. Okay? Alright, so there it is. Now that's in the straight stitch position. And what do we always do before we sew on the real thing? We always do a test, right? We always do a test. Now, I want to tell you something. My adjustment on this machine is the stitch length is going to be a 4.0. You want to set it to 4.0. And that's for your stitch length, okay? That's going to move that fabric very nicely, and it's in the center needle position. Center needle position. Let me do a test here first. All right, looks like I missed. Let me see, what did I miss here? Yep, see what I did? I got the thread behind the needle bar instead of, or the needle screw clamp, instead of behind the little guide. There we go. See that? All these little things make a big difference. And you know, we see a lot of people writing on the groups, why does their machine do this? Why? You have to look out. I mean, you have to watch every little thing, everybody. Every little thing that you do wrong will cause a problem. All right, it seems to be working really well. Let's pop that out. Yeah, that's working really well. All right, so the next thing, now that you watched me show you how to hem this, I'm going to take this t-shirt and I'm going to turn it inside out. But before I turn it inside out, I want to turn it right side out first. I put some pins in here to help hold it while I'm showing you guys. So now I'm just going to turn it like this. I'm going to put it under the machine because we have to put a seam guide here, right? So you're going to say, well, it's so hard to find where we're going to be sewing. You're absolutely right. It's hard, but you can feel it through this thin fabric, but we don't want to take any chances. So we're going to take the fabric. We're going to be careful. Make sure you have an extension table on your machine so you can lay all this heavy knit fabric on it, because I see a lot of people trying to sew without an extension table and the fabric drags off the edge and makes it very difficult for you to hang on to that fabric. And you know, knits stretch, so after you're done sewing you could be cockeyed or have a really bad wobble. It could look really wonky. All right, so this is where I want the needles to hit. Let's see, right about there is where I want the needles to hit. So it covers over the serge part. So I'm going to take this painter's masking tape and I'm going to put it right on the edge there. So that's going to be my guide as I'm sewing. That's going to be my guide as I'm sewing. Okay. Now I'm going to find where the underarm seam is, which is right here, and I'm going to start right past the underarm seam. I'm not using the free arm because I don't want this to stretch and I want to be in control. Now I'm going to hold my fingers like this and I'm going to walk with the machine. So here we go. And you don't watch the needle. This is for newbies. You never ever want to watch the needle. You want to watch the guide right here, the edge guide right here. Okay? Sew and then readjust. And never sew over pins. Sometimes we see people sewing over pins and that is not suggested. Not suggested. Sometimes, you know, if you're sewing over pins, your needle could hit a pin and break and the pieces could fly in your eye. It's not a good safety thing. Take your time doing this. There is no rush. If you have to guide it and hang on and hold it from the back, but don't pull. Alright, so my memory card ran out and I had to change memory cards. So when we're sewing, just want to repeat anything here, when we're sewing, we want to be sure that we don't stretch the fabric. We leave the fabric as it is and we're just guiding. And if you have to hold it from the back, do not pull it from the back. Remember, do not keep your eyes on the needle. Keep your eyes on the edge of the fabric to the seam guide, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, please try to make sure you have an extension table, because the extension table will keep all that heavy fabric from dragging on the side. That's a big problem for the newbies when they don't have an extension table, and all that heavy fabric will drag off the side, and then you're going to have all kinds of wonky looking hems and seams. It's not pretty. Okay. I am going to repeat myself, do not sew over pins. Do not sew over pins. And I see I'm coming up to where I started, so I'm going to take this thread and trim it off using my little embroidery scissors. Okay, then it's going to go over where that originally went over, and then I'm going to backstitch just a couple. And I do not use the auto needle threader. Let me pull this out and cut this, and let me show you what it looks like underneath. All right, you ready? Here we go. So here is underneath. You can see how the twin needle caught the edge there. Now, if you wanted to be safer, in case you miss any, in case you missed a spot, you might want to move the twin needles over more. In other words, when you're sewing, you may want to move the needles over to the right more. Okay? You can do that, and that'll help make sure that you catch it, because sometimes you can miss it. Like you see right here, it was getting pretty close to the edge. I would rather see it come over more so it's in the center of this, and then you could be sure you're not going to miss anything. So this is how you sew your hem. Now here's the outside. Let me show you this on the outside. See how nice that stitch is? Very professional looking, isn't it? And this is the secret to sewing knits and top stitching. That double needle is everything. It really, really is. And like I said, if you don't have a serger, you can do an overcast stitch. You can do overcast stitch on your edges here, and then iron it like I showed you when you fold it over, and then do your zig. Now look at this. You still have stretch. You see, the double needle allows you to still have that stretch. Okay, this is how simple it is. I hope you enjoyed this. If you really, really like these videos that I'm doing for you, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, let me know in the comments to keep going. I'll keep making more for you. All right? Hope I made it simple and easy for you to follow. Okay? Take care, everybody. Till next time, thank you. Happy sewing, happy quilting, and happy embroidery.